Hello everybody, welcome back.
What's up everybody, it's Uncle Pajarito.
Alfredo here.
And this is lesson number 1 in Indigital Storytellers. So today we're kind of go over somewhat of like a pseudo syllabus for the entire semester. Kind of just some things you can expect out of the class, and what we expect from you as well, and some of the accountability that you'll have to partake in to get the most out of this class, and so it'll benefit you. So yeah, we're just gonna keep it pretty loose like that, but also just so you know there's some structure as well, and get the most benefit out of this media class and how you can learn to tell stories in this digital era. Got anything, Alfredo?
Yeah, so I mean, jumping right into the sort of logistics of it. If you have any concerns or questions on anything, be sure to email us or leave a comment on the YouTube videos. That way we know what questions are there, and we can address them properly.
Yeah, we can reply to all the comments on the video. If there's something that like we say, you come across like, oh, I just need a little more clarification on this term, or if you just want to like say like we're doing the best job ever, you can always leave that as well.
Yeah, that's always encouraging. Accountability. We definitely want you all to be as engaged as possible. Really take these lessons that we're going to give you and apply them to your work that you do, and try to be creative. Try to have fun with it. You know, don't think of it as this like super direct and formal thing. No, just have fun with it and you know, explore what we're showing you in the best way that you can.
Yeah, exactly. Exploration, just like Alfredo said, is probably one of the most key parts of any creative. Once you stop exploring, kind of gets stale. So if you have any questions for us on like how you can keep that creative, you know, fire going, pretty good resource for that.
Yeah. Next thing is for the end of class, you do have an assignment, so stay tuned for the end of that. You have to watch the whole video in order for you to get the assignment, so make sure you do focus in on that. And yeah.
And so like with the assignments too, so like that kind of goes into the accountability. We are expecting you to do these assignments, and there might even be a pretty awesome reward at the end of the semester for like the star student that does all the assignments, and we think is probably going to be like, you know, next, you know, native Stanley Kubrick. That's what we'll call the award, you know.
Yeah. The young Stanley.
So if you aspire to do that, or you aspire to beat out someone to do that, you know, it's good to have a little bit of competitiveness within that. Nice. All right, so let's talk a little bit about it's an introduction to media literacy. But before that, let's talk a little bit about like media history, how we go from remember how I talked about like the Thomas Edison all the way up to now you're watching us on your screen on a phone, you know.
Yeah,
that's a long journey.
Very definitely long journey.
Okay, so I'm trying to make this easy for us to edit too, you know?
Yeah.
I'll do my editing for the camera. Any other logistical things we gotta address first though? Let's see. Okay, what's the next video? Next video we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So in our next video, we're getting equipment that's gonna be owned by you guys, by the NACA students. And we're gonna do an unboxing video next video, where we're gonna unload all this, unpackage all this amazing equipment that we've secured through the NACA network, and kind of show you some of the tools that are like currently being used in today. Hopefully, honestly, by the time maybe some of you guys are freshmen, by the time you guys are seniors, all that equipment probably would be outdated, you know, Antro doesn't want to hear that, but but that kind of like segues into our like lesson for today, which is media literacy. And so with media literacy, before you know what's going on in the weather, the temperament, of today's media landscape, you have to kind of know where a lot of it came from, and that goes all the way back to the invention of the moving picture and even the invention of photography itself. A lot of people don't know this. I like to tell a lot of my students in my class that the very first images on moving film was of native people here in New Mexico. Thomas Edison invented the camera, the moving camera, one of the very first moving cameras, and he chose to aim his camera at the indigenous people. He chose to document it, and there'll be a link to that video below in the description. So if us as native and brown people, if that's where the beginning of film started, how can you look at that and apply that to today? We've always been on screen. We've always been maybe even exploited in some sense. So how can we always be reclaiming that? And I think that kind of starts with having that knowledge that, like, hey, we were here, you know, on it first. We didn't have a voice back then. They didn't even have a way to capture audio back then. And so, you know, and even then, when they started capturing audio in some of the movies, they dubbed our voices over at that point. So they literally took our voices away then too. You know, my dad, he was in a Western. It's called The Man Who Loves Cat Dancing, and his character spoke a lot in that movie, but you know what they did? They dubbed his voice over with an Italian. Wow. So he, like, it's not even his real voice when you watch him in that movie. It's his face on there. They wanted his face. They wanted these noble savages in these westerns, you know, but they didn't want them to have. They didn't want their actual voice in it. Wow. So you can think about that. That it moves from, you know, we're documenting these natives, we're documenting indigenous peoples all around the world on picture. To like the westerns, the idea of the Native American in the western has always been there, and then it moves up to, you know, a little more. Maybe I think it's kind of like in our era, in my lifetime, it's leaps and bounds different. But you guys are the next generation, and so what are you guys gonna do with it? Or how are you gonna have our people not just represented, but fully behind the lens and fully directing what's being said in this future media? So yeah, you want to talk a little bit on that, Alfredo?
Yeah. Thank you, Jesse. Yeah, that was awesome. I think I hadn't even seen that video until he showed it to me. So that, just watching that video in itself gave me the feeling of that I own this, I own part of this, you know, we own this stuff. If they had us on film, you know, from the first time, then we should be able to take that and run with our power within film. So I think it's very crucial for young indigenous people to take a hold of their power. A lot of the times we're only seen as aesthetically pleasing, or you know, they have an idea of what the indigenous sort of aesthetic does for people and what it can do for other people that aren't native per se, right? And so to really hone your own sense and ground yourself in believing that you are a part of this is a part of you, I think really allows for us to understand film as a way of better reflecting who we are, and allowing us to self-identify through media and through film. I think.
So, like, me and Alfredo right now, you're watching this most likely on a screen. No, you are watching it on a screen. We're recording it in today's era. So how do we, in media literacy and talking about, like, you have to kind of know how we got to this point. You know, how do you go from Thomas Edison with a giant camera that's bigger than this space right here, documenting traditional dances here in New Mexico, actually, to you watching us right here on your screen. You know, brown people on the screen now. So and saying, having their own voice and saying stuff like that. It's accessible to everyone. We're in an era that it's accessible to everyone. I'm just old enough to remember what it was like to not have an iPhone. You guys aren't. You've always had an iPhone. You know, you've always had access to the information around the globe. You can Google anything right now. You know, I remember when I was a kid, I didn't know what Google was. You know, like, you know, I'm not Googling the right things. You know, growing up. You know, like, but you guys have that. So that's something that you are going to be constantly learning to navigate, just as we are, and then at the same time trying to hold on to these traditions, trying to hold on to your sense of place, and what it means to have this inherent storytelling ability that I believe majority of indigenous people have. You know, and how do you take that and put it into this new era, and also a little bit of like predicting the future. You know, I think that's vastly important with media literacy. So in talking about like doing the research on this media stuff, we honestly can't do it within a 15-minute video giving you the whole like history of media. That's going to be kind of on you to do that research. When I was in school, you know, the most that I learned, this is just me though, the most that I learned was the stuff that I sought myself, that I seeked out myself, the knowledge that I went home and I did the homework that wasn't required. And that's when I leaps and bounds made the most progress. So that comes into that accountability, you know, like you're going to be accountable for fulfilling these assignments we're going to give. But also, if you want to learn, you want to get that wealth of knowledge, you got to go out there and get it yourself too at the same time. And so there we go. Media literacy, the history of it, and how can you, and why is it important, and how can it be applied to today? Okay, so we're a perfect example of media literacy right now. You turn on the news, you turn on anything, and if you have this media literacy, you know how things are made, you know how things are used as propaganda, you know how things are perpetuated to drive a narrative. It honestly gives you like these glasses that you can look and be like, okay, I know exactly how they filmed that. So if I know how they filmed that, then I know maybe the kind of narrative that they're trying to show. And it can be positive, it can be negative. This is why I believe that media literacy is very important though. Because you get to be the smartest one in the room and be able to think for yourself. You got anything on that, Alfredo?
Yeah, I think being very analytical and forming a knowledge base of what images and how images tell a story for you and for other people will ultimately make you all better filmmakers, but also better at communicating through art. A lot of stuff that is being shown on the news can perpetuate a negative dialogue and a negative connotation of things going on, and specifically around people and specific communities.
Look what's going on with lobster fishermen up north right now. You know, there's a very dichotomous narrative that's happening. You know, and if you use your media literacy, you can like funnel through like all various forms of media. You can, whether that be literature that's being spread out, whether that be like photos, video clips, if you know that like, hey, like there's this video clip that's going viral, but you can clearly tell that it's been edited and doctored on either side, you know, then you can form your own opinion on things. Or you can tell that like photo, if you know that the way that a photo is captured, or you know the way that lens language works, the way that well, they use this wide angle lens for this shot, so that means that like it's showing a broader thing. But then they use this like longer lens, tighter lens on this shot, then that they're hiding something. You know, you can, that kind of stuff is vastly important when you're navigating this media landscape and just bombarded by images all the time. And it's pretty easy just to quickly share something, you know, but like this media literacy actually adds to like, okay, let me delve more into this image, let me analyze it more, you know, and not just take what everyone's telling me exactly what this image it means, you know.
Yeah, and it can be very easy and very hard, just depending on how much you know. You can look at an image and it can say something to you that might be completely different to somebody who has a bigger knowledge base than you do.
Exactly.
And so really, you know, we have to be mindful of these things, because we are ultimately storytellers, and we are creators. So we create these art pieces that show people things, and if we want to, you know, really be mindful of what we're showing people, then we have to understand what these things mean and how we can use them to you know, showcase different things through their uses.
So to kind of like wrap it up, media literacy is why we wanted to start with media literacy is because it's basically a language. Media is a language at this point that we're going to be teaching you throughout the semester. And you know, you might not be able to speak it fluently by the end of the semester, but guaranteed if you keep with it, you do the homework yourself, you know, and you be engaged, stay engaged, and just maybe even think about it in your everyday life. You definitely already are thinking about it in your everyday life, but think about it a little more critically. You'll be able to speak this language a little more fluent, and me and Alfredo are right there with you, because we're still learning it as well.
Absolutely.
And yeah, this kind of drives us into the assignment that we're going to give you today, and Alfredo's going to give you a little bit about that, and I'll give you some examples.
Yeah, so to tie that in, I think it's very crucial for y'all to be analyzing anything that you see. So ads, you know, short little videos that you see here and there, pictures, anything that might strike a, you know, a thought in your mind. Just search it a little bit more, research and dive into what those images might mean, what even colors has to do with you know, the way that you perceive things, and what emotions have to you know, like relate with colors. So that's very important. The assignment that we have for y'all is a short vlog, and it could be a vlog centered around your day-to-day lives, but also it can be sort of expanding that, you know, and maybe you're taking us into a day-to-day life that you want us to see, you know, not necessarily your own life, but maybe it's the life of your uncle, your grandparent, you know. If you all do find yourselves in, you know, specific situations that you're like, oh, I might want to capture this, then just do it. We all have phones at this moment, so with pictures it's very crucial to, you know, be able to capture things, even if you just don't, you know, even if you just feel like it's not really a picture, just take it. Exercising that ability to take pictures and take photo and video will ultimately make your mind just be like, oh, I want to capture that, and boom, you caught it. So yeah, try to make like a little vlog video of what you want to showcase as a day-to-day life.
And on this one, like, there should be 100% participation, because guaranteed all of you guys vlog every day and you don't even know it. Social media is a form of vlogging. It's a form of perception as well. You know, we're picking and choosing what we're showing people, what are some of our ideas are, some of what we're specifically taking videos of or photos of.
Yeah, what we believe.
So you could try vlogging if you have the equipment. You can like actually record stuff and try making a movie out of it. But you could honestly even just do a vlog off like Snapchat. you know, and then
Yeah.
so like do or Instagram story or Facebook story, whatever your form is. You can make a whole little vlog and then just screen capture the thing and then send that, and that'll be your assignment for this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like Alfredo said, you really just focus on like this idea of, I would think about like, well, what am I curating and what am I showing the world?
Exactly.
You know,
Yes.
I think in today's age we're definitely people that are obsessed with showing almost people everything, but not to a fault. You know, we don't want to show them certain sides.
Yeah.
So like really think about that. Like really think about like perception of what you're showing to people, and you might even see like within your social media, be like, oh, you're doing something different, or you know, you might be doing the same thing that you do every day.
Yeah.
So yes, this is an easy assignment, guys, honestly, and I want to see 100% participation on it. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we'll announce a winner next week of who's the best one, and I'll Venmo you $10.
try to tell us a story. You know, take us. Take us.
No, I might not Venmo.
We really want you all to push yourselves and to really, you know, just go out there and look at what you want or what you might want to show the world, because that's how Snapchat is. You know, you're not like, for instance, if I'm gonna draw something, I'm gonna draw a snap like of the finish or the beginning me and the middle and then the end end process. You know, you take them through a sort of little journey of your drawing. It could be something like that, or it could be you riding a bike, you know, in the bosque. Just, you know, I mean, be safe, of course. Don't like film while you're riding a bike, you know. You might hurt yourself, but
liability.
Yeah,
it's liability. Alfredo kind of touched on what next video we're going to talk about storyboarding too.
Yes,
so that's it's going into more actual story structure.
Yeah, it's like formulating your story into pictures before like actually getting to filming. That way you just have a solid idea of what you want to shoot.
Yeah, so that'll be next class. Just to kind of wrap things up, it's been great this week, guys. We'll see you next week. Maybe we'll be in this location, maybe we'll be somewhere else.
Yeah.
Tune in to find out. We'll see, you know.
Yeah, if you have any questions, make sure you comment and email us if you have any further questions beyond that.
Right on.
Cool.
Uncle Pajarito signing off.
Alfredo signing off. Bye-bye.
Have a good week, guys.
See y'all.